You said guns will be taken?
Yeah, no one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
The police and National Guard going street by street, entering open houses with guns drawn, and instructions to disarm anyone inside.
For anyone who has studied history, it's very clear. Tyrants do not want armed slaves. Slaves are disarmed. As the bumper sticker reads, politicians love disarmed peasants. The first gun control laws in this country were against newly emancipated freed slaves at the end of the Civil War. We've seen a lot of federal power grabs. We've seen Obama launch wars in Libya without congressional approval and levy carbon taxes without Congress. We've seen the power of the bureaucracy grow unchecked. But today, I want to talk to you about one of the most brazen and shocking examples of this I have ever seen. No, I'm not talking about the internet kill switch they've put in place or calls restrict free speech that are public. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives announcing to Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California, outside of law, with no law, that when a gun dealer sells 2 or more rifles to someone, they've got to file a suspicious activities report with the ATF. Now remember, when you get those guns, there's an instant check done with the FBI where your background check is run. And on the form, what you're buying and what you're doing is all filled out. And that's under federal law. Albeit unconstitutional, it's still law. What the ATF announced months ago was, well, we're getting a law passed by Congress, and they introduced a bill, the Democrats did, where when you buy 2 or more rifles, you have to report it and fill out a suspicious activity report on the person to the ATF.
The rule that was put in place to report on rifles that are long guns that are being sold was also, they testified, very helpful.
The demand letter reporting the multiple sale of those rifles would be helpful for us, yes.
Is there any other tool that this Congress could give you?
Well, guess what happened? Congress didn't pass that law. And so Obama said, who needs Congress? And he sent letters on July 12th to every federal firearms licensee or seller in those 4 states. He sent them letters and said, you will now report. You are ordered, you are commanded. And I have a copy of the letter given to me by a good friend who owns a gun shop here in Austin, Texas. And they have no law authorizing this. And when my friend, who's a gun dealer, called the ATF and talked to Daniel Jones, the head of the ATF here in Austin, he called him 2 weeks before this letter came out because it was in the news that the ATF was already ordering gun shops to do this without law. And he said, do I have to do this to Daniel Jones? And Daniel said, no, the bill has failed in Congress, and obviously we can't enforce something if it's not the law, so don't worry about it. Well, a few weeks later, he got this letter telling him that the ATF was ordering him in America, outside of law, to do this. That is the essence of tyranny. And then I began to remember that Obama had told the Brady campaign and others, it'd been in the Washington Post, World Net Daily, months before, don't worry, I can't get the votes in Congress to restrict guns. I'm going to use the executive branch and the bureaucracy by stealth or, quote, under the radar. This is illegal, but they're setting a precedent where the ATF, outside of law, basically turns them into confidential informants against law-abiding citizens. I have confirmed through 2 Texas gun dealers and through someone in my office that when you buy 2 rifles, and by the way, it's in this letter, or 2 handguns, revolver or pistol, that you get an ATF or FBI visit to your house and they demand to come in your home and see your guns without a warrant. It's a chilling effect. It's intimidation, just like in Nazi Germany. And I got another document that the FBI has issued to gun dealers implying that people buying guns who talk about stopping power, and if they ask what's a good gun to stop a criminal, that you're to call the FBI on them. Remember New Orleans with the police chief under federal orders saying all the guns will be taken, no one will be allowed to be armed. Remember the Army, regular Army and National Guard being sent into wealthy, high and dry areas and going in and blowing open their gun safes and taking their guns and arresting the legal, lawful gun owners. The system does not want armed citizens. They want to set a precedent. And as our country goes into designed banker depression, as we implode, they are coming after our guns. This is how the war against the British Empire started in 1776 at Lexington and Concord. The system is having the police and military start a fight where they know gun-owning constitutionalists are not going to go along with it. They are going to start responding as things degenerate, and they're going to be called terrorists. The system, the social engineers, are sending the ATF and the feds on a collision course with law-abiding, patriotic Americans so they can kick off a civil war in America. In closing, I want to give you the good news. It was ATF agents that had some good left in them, like Darth Vader, that blew the whistle when 3 Border Patrol agents and 5 police officers were killed in the last year by guns that the government shipped into Mexico. And then the Attorney General, Eric Holder, lied and said that he didn't. He's been caught perjuring himself. The head of the ATF has exposed that. We now have learned that the FBI and DEA are involved in Fast and Furious. And even when they were caught, they still use it to restrict the Second Amendment outside of law because they are criminals. And it's time for good police officers, ATF, FBI, DEA, and others to say, no, I'm not shipping guns to Mexico or Honduras or to Miami to drug gangs to cause a crime wave so you can disarm law-abiding citizens. Hold this criminal agency and their boss, the Attorney General of the United States, accountable because they've been caught on record. And ATF agents have testified that they talked to the White House and they were under Justice Department orders. Of course they were. This is the covert undermining of the Second Amendment and a staged terror attack with these guns to blame law-abiding citizens as this country goes into a depression and we need these guns to protect ourselves. The dirtbag control freaks at the Brady Center and the Violence Policy Center and the rest of them know what they're doing. They're in the business of bringing America to its knees and disarming the American people so we can live under a tyranny. And even when they're caught, they're so arrogant and so full of chutzpah and bravado that they come out and use what they've publicly staged outside of law to order the gun shops to do this, and then they go to the people that have bought the guns homes and harass them without warrants. This is the fall of the republic if we don't stand up against it. I'm Alex Jones reporting from the front lines of the info war. You have been warned. Now please warn others. Ask yourselves, what are you doing in this time of great challenge? What are you doing to unlock minds? Go to Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv for the latest headlines and cutting-edge information.